In 2011, cousins Jim Salikas and Sabin Lomack got together for a weekend of sun, fun, and food in Southern California. The pair had an idyllic childhood growing up in Maine before Sabin moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in acting, and Jim headed to Boston, where he sold medical devices. They reminisced about their childhood in Portland and the happy times their families had spent together, usually preparing and eating freshly caught lobster. Over a sushi dinner on Sunset Boulevard, they had a brilliant idea. Take advantage of the new food truck craze and bring authentic Maine lobster rolls to California. Over the coming days, they couldn't let the idea drop and decided to start a side business alongside their day jobs, despite knowing nothing about the food service industry. Determined to bring the taste of their youth to a whole new audience, Jim and Sabin took their hard-earned savings and bought themselves a truck. They jumped straight in. Despite the truck being delivered late and the staff untrained in working the grill, they advertised their first stop, and the business was launched. What they didn't know was that a local lifestyle website, Urban Daddy, had shared the details online, causing quite a local stir. They arrived to find a queue of 60 customers patiently waiting for their arrival. Word quickly spread about the new seafood specialists on the block, and local media were soon interested in the Cousins and their business. The speed of their success caught the eye of the Shark Tank producers, who contacted them just a few days after they made their first stop. The Cousins initially said no to appearing on the show, twice, but were finally persuaded that they may be making a costly mistake that they would live to regret. They had 8 weeks to prepare for their big moment in the tank, and they didn't waste a minute of it. They used the time to watch and analyze 50 episodes of the show and come up with a strategy.
We wanted to be prepared for any question that they could ask. As for the pitch, we practiced and practiced and practiced.
When the day finally came, they would spend nearly an hour in the tank, sweating it out under the spotlight. The Cousins begin by explaining to the camera that there's a food truck phenomenon in Los Angeles, and their single LA-based truck can't cope with the demand for their fresh Maine lobster rolls. They are forced to turn away potential customers due to a lack of resources, and are hoping to gain investment to buy another truck and expand their fleet. Entering the room wearing shorts and flip-flops, Jim and Sabin introduced themselves and asked for $55,000 for a 5% stake in their company. They begin their pitch by describing the lines that form daily around the iconic lobster shacks in their hometown of Portland, Maine. The one thing on every visitor's mind? An authentic lobster roll. Using their lobster shack on wheels, they explain that they bring lobsters from the Maine shore to their LA door in less than 24 hours, so they stay fresh and delicious. And to keep up with the demand they have already created, they need extra vehicles to help them reach more customers in the area. With the pitch over, technology mogul Robert can't wait to try the samples on offer, while Barbara is straight down to business.
How do you get the lobster from Maine to
Barbara,
California?
stop. Let's try it first.
Oh, I could eat and listen at the same time.
As the Sharks try both the signature lobster roll and Connecticut roll with lemon, the Cousins explain that the bread and lobster meat are both shipped from Maine to Los Angeles daily. Robert isn't disappointed, telling Jim and Sabin that the food is fantastic, and wants to know if their supplier is another cousin. He's told that though it's not a family contact, the Maine lobster industry is such a closed society that they have access to the best suppliers at the lowest prices, simply because they grew up there. Venture capitalist Kevin points out that there are multiple potential lobster suppliers, but Sabin responds that the pricing for wholesale shipping isn't always the same. Kevin is still concerned. He points out that offering a stake of just 5% for a $55,000 investment values the business at over $1 million. Entrepreneur Mark and branding expert Damon jump in to point out that Kevin is worrying about the valuation before finding out anything about the business, and suggest he might find out they have 10 trucks. Sabin responds that they have only 1 truck, but have made $150,000 in sales over just 2 months. Kevin wants to know how customers find the truck if it moves all over LA. The Cousins tell him they rely heavily on social media to advertise locations. And Mark asks what the Cousins bring to this business that no one else can do.
Say, I want to be in the lobster business. Mr. Wonderful's Lobster, okay? Why don't I just go get a couple of guys with flip-flops on, call up somebody in Maine saying, I've got money, you've got lobsters, and do this whole thing myself.
Jim tells him there's nothing stopping him from hiring a truck and staff, but access to the lobster industry isn't that simple. Branding expert Damon doesn't believe that suppliers who have been in business for 50 years will now only work with the Cousins, who have been in business for just 2 months. Robert tells the entrepreneurs that none of the sharks are buying their story, but Mark disagrees. He believes them, but wants to understand the economics of each truck, and needs to understand seasonality. Jim tells them they're locked into pricing with their suppliers, so they won't be affected by seasonal changes. Kevin wants more cost and profit details, and is told they charge $13 for a lobster roll, which costs them $5.85 to make. Mark asks once again about the economics of the truck. Sabin begins to respond, telling him their truck was purchased for $65,000, and monthly overhead including staff is $20,000 a month per truck. As he answers Mark's next question, and explains that the overhead will drop a little because they've hired a general manager, Barbara jumps in to ask why they're not managing the small business themselves. Sabin tells her they are lobster specialists, but not trucking specialists. She wants to know more about the backstory, what inspired them to bring lobster cross-country. As Sabin explains their history, Mark becomes visibly frustrated with the pair. Describing them as greedy, Damon wants to know what he will get for his money, and is told he will become part of the family while making cash.
Guys, these guys are talking all kinds of nonsense. I had asked you what the economics of the truck were. You know what? Because you thought it was more important to talk about all the nonsense and couldn't see through the nonsense.
That's not fair, Mark.
I'm out.
Robert and Barbara tell him he's acting like a baby, like Damon. An irritated Damon calls Barbara an old crap and asks if she is going to write them a check. She says that she is, but wants to know about their competitors, and is told they have two. Robert wants to get back to the $1.1 million valuation, which he feels is too high. Kevin agrees.
It's outrageous what you're asking for.
Okay.
I can't take any more. For the sake of lobsters, they're still alive. I'm out.
To justify their valuation, Sabin tells the sharks that they've made $65,000 in their first month and $85,000 in the second month. Jim adds that they are regularly having to turn down business. Damon reveals he was a commercial fisherman and previously worked at Red Lobster. As he has an understanding of the industry, he is confident they have grossly overvalued their company and asks for their best offer. The Cousins are willing to improve their offer to an 8% stake in the business. Robert finds this small increase hilarious and tells Sabin that by saying that without laughing, he's proved himself to be a very good actor. Damon is out. Robert is ready to make an offer, telling the entrepreneurs he likes to invest in hardworking individuals. He is prepared to give them the requested $55,000 for 25% of their business. Barbara quickly makes a counteroffer, having carefully considered the numbers. She's willing to offer them the full amount, but she wants a larger stake in the company.
For that amount of money, I would like to have 17% of your business.
17.
And you know why? Because 17 is my lucky number.
Robert fights back, telling them he is known for building businesses quickly and would help them get more trucks on the street. To do that, he thinks they need more cash, so changes his offer to $100,000 for a 25% stake. Kevin reminds the entrepreneurs of both offers on the table, describing Barbara's as a random valuation pulled out of the air. Before they make their final decision, the Cousins have one final question. What would each shark's strategy be moving forward? Barbara thinks that's a great question, and tells them she would assist with their marketing. She would want to change their truck, adding their faces as the Cousins, and the word fresh somewhere visible. Damon quickly agrees with her ideas. Robert has a very different response to the question.
All right, let me answer that question. You gotta be kidding me. There's a reason I'm up here. I don't need to prove what I can do.
Telling them he doesn't need another job. He's out, leaving Barbara as the only shark that's still in. Sabin's ready to negotiate further, asking her to consider a 12% stake for the investment. It's an immediate, but friendly, no. Mark asks them why the valuation matters so much to them, and tells them 80% of a watermelon is bigger than 100% of a grape. Sabin shows his Shark Tank knowledge by reminding him he has previously said that 5% of something is better than 0% of nothing. You can't argue with that. Barbara suggests they meet halfway and offers $55,000 for a 15% stake. The cousins share a look, and the deal is done. Barbara comes in for a celebratory lobster roll hug. The entrepreneurs are happy with the deal and excited to work with their new shark in the future. Jim and Sabin later revealed that they had been targeting Barbara as their preferred shark, so their extensive preparation really paid off. Barbara's investment had an immediate impact on the business, and they quickly built their fleet to 4 trucks covering Southern California, which allowed them to attend events in the area as well as to extend their usual routes. In January 2016, the Cousins gave a brief update on their business from their hometown of Portland, Maine. 3 years on from making the deal in the tank, they are visiting their lobstermen along with 11 new cousins, and their favorite shark, Barbara. It was her idea to franchise the business, charging between $200,000 and $350,000 per area for a local food truck, branding, and daily operational support. The Cousins then take an ongoing 8% royalty on sales from the 11 franchisees that are currently signed up. Total sales have already reached an impressive $15 million, but the Cousins aren't stopping there. They each have one eye firmly on the future.
It's been 3 years, and what we've done with the help of Shark Tank and Barb has been unbelievable. What the next 3 years has in store, who knows, but we're ready for it. Welcome to Maine!
From Dallas and Houston to Las Vegas and San Diego, Cousins Maine Lobster food trucks began appearing in cities across the USA, with some franchisees purchasing multiple trucks to meet the demand they quickly built. From the very beginning of their relationship, Barbara advised the owners to remember the focus of their business, instead of taking up every offer that came their way. But the Cousins weren't planning to slow down, and their next big idea was opening a brick-and-mortar restaurant in West Hollywood. In January 2016, the Cousins appeared on Beyond the Tank to discuss this next step in building their business empire, and how they hoped to give back to the community that had supported them. Their mentor, Barbara, was nervous about the restaurant plan, but clearly didn't regret her investment.
Jim and Sabin are 2 of the best entrepreneurs I've ever met on Shark Tank. They're equally strong in their own respective roles. They're perfect entrepreneurs.
The restaurant actually opened in 2015, 6 months before the episode aired, and quickly achieved a Yelp rating of 4.2 out of 5, with reviewers loving the quality of the food and the reasonable prices. Barbara had a lot of input into the design of the restaurant. Just as she had shared the changes she would make to the food trucks, she encouraged the Cousins to use light wood instead of their preferred dark wood, and country fences around the patio area instead of a more contemporary steel look. They listened to her advice and made those changes, though she didn't get her way with the trucks, which stayed pretty much the same. No faces and no fresh on the side. During this time, the owners followed one of Barbara's initial strategies, to get their handsome faces out in front of the public to promote the business. They appeared on the Today Show and in a variety of magazines, and Shark Barb was often pictured with them. By the middle of 2016, Jim and Sabin had turned their $20,000 business into one of the most successful Shark Tank companies ever, with revenue of $20 million and more trucks and restaurants on the way. They also added an online business to ship their fresh lobster products directly to customers' homes. In the summer of 2017, the company won the Critics' Choice Food Truck Award and achieved another unique honor.
The City of Portland and members of the City Council do hereby recognize the accomplishments and service of Cousins Maine Lobster and declare May 11, 2017, Cousins Maine Lobster Day in the City of Portland.
As the company continued to expand, so did the variety of projects Jim and Sabin took on. They released a book about their business journey, which the New York Post described as required reading, and Sabin rolled out his own reality TV show, which followed him as he visited beachside eateries across the country.
Oh my God. This is Seaside Snacks and Shacks.
At the same time, the business partners created their own nonprofit, Cousins for a Cause, and partnered with Big Brothers, Big Sisters in Los Angeles. The organization provides mentors for troubled kids and had supported Sabin during a tough period of his life.
I was in the worst trouble of my life. I'd spent nights in jail. I was anything ranging from fights or getting kicked out of school to drinking or drugs or graffiti. You name it, I was trying it.
When he was 14, Sabin was matched with a big brother, came to his games, regularly called and met to check in with him, and offered him friendly advice to help him get back on the right track. He eventually gained a college scholarship and is still in contact with his mentor today. Sabin puts part of his success down to that early intervention and was determined to do the same for another young man. He did just that and was awarded Big Brother of Year for his voluntary work with his little brother Lawrence in 2016. He continues to offer his time as a mentor today. By 2019, the business had grown even further and was introducing fresh Maine lobster rolls to New York City.
So we have 2 trucks running through Manhattan.
Where are they going to be? They literally go all around the city. They do private events, public events. You can find them on the street corner, or we're just at Governor's Ball, so we literally go all over to try and hit as many people as we can.
By the way, go ahead, Noah.
As I said, now we have a restaurant on 26th and Lex and a new kiosk in Times Square this Wednesday.
By this point, they had trucks in 35 US cities, with multiple franchise applications coming in for each area. The Cousins learned to trust their judgment when picking the successful franchisees.
We've learned over the years that our gut is 99% right. One of the biggest rules that we go by now is, would we want to work for that person?
Although Sabin's previous show on the cooking channel had only run for one season, the Cousins pitched another idea to the Food Network, and in 2021, a pilot of food truck rehab hit the screens. Jim and Sabin were excited to share their knowledge with others building a family business from the ground up. The single episode got pretty good reviews, but the series wasn't picked up. Another pilot, Grill of Victory, featured Sabin and a judge overseeing a barbecue challenge, but it received a 4.9 out of 10 IMDb rating and was dropped after 5 episodes. By 2021, Cousins Maine Lobster saw an annual sales of almost $55 million from its 36 trucks and 7 brick-and-mortar restaurants. With an 8% royalty, that amounts to almost $4.4 million in royalties each year. Sales increased 37% year-on-year, and 19 new openings were planned, bringing lobster rolls to customers across 8 more cities. But it wasn't plain sailing. In 2022, 7 years after opening the first restaurant, it was forced to close its doors. Fans of the delicious lobster dishes were redirected back to the local food trucks, as the sign came down and the windows covered up. And in August 2024, a North Carolina restaurant followed suit, losing the only brick-and-mortar Cousins location in the state. But the Cousins continue to push forward. Today, they have 66 trucks and 5 restaurants across the country, and have recently announced their plans to reach 100 locations by 2025 and 250 by 2030. They feel they now understand their business more, making the ambitious growth and greater scale more achievable moving forward. Barbara refers to the business as one of her best investments. While she may joke that it's because Jim and Sabin flirt with her, it's one of her most financially astute decisions on the show. The Cousins started a family business, and despite its massive and rapid growth, they have managed to maintain the family atmosphere among their new staff and franchisees. Jim and Sabin both share pictures with their actual families on their social media pages, and clearly still find time for play as well as work. Congratulations to both on their huge success, and we wish Cousins Maine Lobster continued luck for the future.